Language is a powerful tool for communication. It's considered one of the most effective means of interaction. A lingua franca is a common language serving as a regular means of communication between different linguistic groups in a multilingual speech community. A lingua franca serves as a bridging language for people whose native languages are different from each other, but still have the need to communicate. A universal language is important due to increased movement of people and the increased ability to communicate far and wide as the internet has enhanced communication and economic transactions between nations. Since the end of World War II, English became the language of scholarly communication. In fact, English is the current lingua franca of international business, entertainment, education, science, technology, navigation, as well as aviation. English even replaced French, the Western world's previous lingua franca, as the language of international diplomacy. Currently, English is the world's largest spoken language, if you count both native and non-native speakers. However, if you only count native speakers, Mandarin Chinese is the largest but lacks the geographical spread and usage that English enjoys. Nonetheless, for the African continent, one language in particular stands out and is predicted to become Africa's first modern indigenous lingua franca, and that language is Swahili. I'm your host, Ebube Okoli. Welcome to Up Close and Center. On this episode of Up Close and Center, we will discuss the likelihood and potential benefits of Swahili becoming modern Africa's first indigenous lingua franca. As always, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon so that you will be among the first to know when new content becomes available. Furthermore, if you have any additional analysis on the topic, please feel free to use the comment section. Africa's 1.3 billion people speak anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 indigenous languages. There are at least 75 languages in Africa which have more than 1.4 million speakers. The rest are spoken by populations ranging from a few hundred to a few 100,000. At the time of this broadcast, approximately 36.8 million people use Oromo as their primary mode of communication. There are over 41.6 million speakers of Yoruba language inside and outside of Nigeria. Amharic is a first language of over 23 million speakers. The Hausa language is used as an international trade language by over 56 million speakers on the continent. Zulu is said to be used by over 13 million people, while Igbo language is spoken by an estimated 43.5 million people on the continent and in the diaspora. However, the most spoken indigenous language in Africa is Swahili, which is said to have over 150 million speakers. In fact, some Africans now speak Swahili more than even their own mother tongues, and many more are now choosing to raise their children with Swahili as their first language, leading to the possibility that Swahili may transition from being a strong regional language to becoming a potential African lingua franca on the continent and for the diaspora. Swahili, also known by its native name Kiswahili, is a Bantu language and the native language of the Swahili people. Swahili is spoken in Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Congo, Mozambique, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, Malawi, and even spoken in parts of Western Asia, such as in Yemen and Oman. Although Swahili is a Bantu language rooted in the African continent, around 35% of Swahili vocabulary comes from Arabic. However, the vast majority of the language comes from its African origins. One benefit of the rise of Swahili is the fact that such an action will prepare Africa's young population, which make up the vast majority on the continent, the ability to more easily live, work, associate, and play almost anywhere on the continent with ease, therein helping to establish an interconnectivity that Africa of today simply lacks. If African youth are taught to preserve their centuries-old heritage, while having the ability to speak a universal African language, they will be better able to take part in building not only their own individual nations, but also aid in the development of Africa as a continent, done by Africans meeting their own needs. In regards to the latest sign of Swahili's rise, it's recently been reported that at least 16 African nations have agreed to adopt Swahili as a formal language. Such an adoption provides impetus for a wider spread of one of the few shared African languages that is not colonial in origin. Furthermore, many believe that such an action is likely to have a snowball effect as the language will be fast adopted by other political and economic groupings elsewhere on the continent, making Swahili the lingua franca across Africa. Analysts believe that a greater adoption of Swahili will bring African regions closer together, thus enhancing their cooperation in the geopolitical, socio-political, economic, and cultural spheres. This is important because most of Africa's foundational infrastructure design was merely built to connect the resources of those newly created nations to seaports for easy removal and transportation by the foreign occupiers. Thus, neighboring African nations were oftentimes not connected by road and rail, as was the case in Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Therefore, many African nations had greater economic ties with their former occupiers than they did with their direct neighbors, due to the heavy pre-existence of expensive infrastructure on which those nations, at independence, had to rely. As such, early infrastructural limitations created a situation where it was simply more advantageous to continue to trade with the former colonists than other neighboring African countries. The economic ease of using the former occupier's infrastructure, and oftentimes for the same purpose, was just economically easier, financially more lucrative, and oftentimes politically encouraged to the new nations by those very same former occupiers. Although adopting Swahili as Africa's official language won't automatically fix Africa's infrastructural interconnectivity issues, it will bring about a cultural connectivity within a very short period of time. The quest for Africa to speak in one voice is gathering momentum globally. In such a globalized world, a lingua franca provides significant potential benefits to those who are competent in it as a first or even second language. These advantages are most apparent in global business, international trade, continental education, and other activities where communication is facilitated by the use of a single, common African language. This concludes our broadcast of Up Close and Center. As always, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon so that you will be among the first to know when new content becomes available. Furthermore, if you have any additional analysis on this topic, please feel free to use the comment section. Thank you for your time and your commitment to the continent.